Hey TV Herstoryans, I'm Cynthia Bemis Abrams of the podcast Advanced TV Herstory. Let's talk TV women. Today's video is about the third anniversary, 3 years of my producing this podcast about TV women. That is, women who we see on TV, as well as the women who have brought us TV as writers, directors, producers, showrunners. A year ago, when I was looking forward to this coming year, and I was kind of thinking, how could I better frame the kind of stories that I want to tell? How could I look for the achievements, the work that has been done that will help us be better feminists, that will help us better understand the past, and how we can use all of that knowledge to start important conversations today, to be more understanding of the older generations of feminists, and also impart some of their wisdom to future generations. So last year, I decided to frame this context in 3 sort of categories: leadership, persistence, and achievement. It didn't take long for me to realize that the leadership of today's feminism, when we march, we are marching with a bit of Daria's voice in our head. Daria, as you may recall, was an MTV original. It's the only animated series that I have gone in depth on to really discuss the writing and the tone and the vocal presence of the performers who are part of Daria. Daria was only on for 2 seasons. It's available. It can be streamed on MTV. But more importantly, listen to the podcast first, whether you watched Daria or not. If you are kind of wondering what is the mindset of the marchers, today's feminist got her start with Daria. The episode that we have is called Daria's Impact on Feminism, and it is a story of leadership. And in the conversation of leadership, I looked to the book A Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, the award-winning showrunner of some of our favorite current series. She's always been creative, and she's always been her own person. So when you listen to the podcast, Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes, you're going to get some really great leadership lessons, life lessons, and ways in which you too can improve to become more successful. The area of persistence is important for all of us right now. Have you ever been told that life is a marathon, not a sprint? If you're a sprinter, that's really hard to hear because it means you have to manage your energy. But the stories of persistence of TV women are some of the most inspiring opportunities I have to do research. It was a great honor for me to interview Bill Jankowski, who sat with Patty Duke. In writing her memoirs and in recording some of her tremendous life experiences, not only on TV as the head of the Patty Duke Show, it was her name, it was her show, but it was her show only after a tremendous career on the stage and in film. It's a very fun, important interview because the persistence of Patty Duke not only is in performing, but it was also in managing and really coming to terms as the first public advocate about mental health and mental illness awareness. Talking to Bill really helped me better understand how he came to have such a strong friendship with Patty and the challenges that she faced and how she was so candid about them. It is a story of persistence. So if you get a chance, listen to the 2-part episode, which was an interview with Bill Jankowski about Patty Duke. Persistence is sometimes just a story of a single moment. And it was a tremendous opportunity to speak of persistence in understanding what Esther Rolle brought to the TV show Good Times. This is one of many of the early Norman Lear sitcoms of quality TV of the 70s. Now you may recall that Esther Rolle played the role of Florida Evans. Florida had been Maude's housekeeper. And when they wanted to spin Florida off to be in her show called The Good Times, initially the writers and the producers wanted her to be a single mom. So the episode entitled Esther Rolle's Hope for Good Times is all about how she held her ground and had really good reason to hold her ground as to why the Evans family should be depicted as a full family with a mom and a dad. The symbolism of that construct was not lost on her, and ultimately it's a fascinating story. So do listen to that podcast. Advanced TV Herstory brings you Esther Rolle's hope for good times. For this particular year, I really felt it was important, though, to look at achievement, not just achievements that are understood and really recognized through Emmy Awards or Golden Globes, but rather some of the work that is part of legend. I'm going to call it legend because when Rita Moreno is cast in the reboot of One Day at a Time on Netflix, you have a whole new look with a whole set of different tools. So the episode about reboots One Day at a Time and Rita Moreno gets into really the importance of the TV show One Day at a Time, and how the original show, again another Norman Lear production, set the stage for a single divorced mom to be raising teenage kids, and the many coming of age storylines, teenage storylines, rites of passage that were addressed in that original series in the 70s. And then we look at Rita Moreno really headlining the reboot with Justine Machado, but Rita Moreno is a big, powerful presence. So it's a little bit of a tip of the hat to One Day at a Time in this reboot, as well as an important look back on the vital and vibrant career of Rita Moreno, who is one of very few women to have earned an EGOT, an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. Leadership, persistence, and achievement are all interesting aspects. They're the way that I'm able to bring storytelling about TV women to listeners. In the theme of achievement, it was pretty easy to sit down with Dr. Robin Means Coleman of the University of Michigan to talk about the tremendous achievement when Debbie Allen repositioned the TV series A Different World. And so that podcast is entitled Debbie Allen Repositions A Different World. And she did so starting in season 2 of that really important breakthrough series in ways that Dr. Coleman illustrates in a very detailed fashion. But Debbie Allen was meticulous in honoring the experience she had attending Howard University, a historic black college, and how that really needed to be the framework by which life at Hillman for 4 consecutive seasons following the first season told the story. So that was a tremendous interview, and Dr. Coleman is a fascinating and very learned woman. It was an honor to work with her on that. There is no shortage of content. Every time I turn on my TV or I'm pulling out a DVD that I haven't thought about in a while, I stumble into a moment in TV herstory or an individual who wrote a tremendous episode, and I realize that story has to be told. It just happened not that long ago when I thought, that girl. Well, I know I really need to do an episode that brings to light all of the great work of Marlo Thomas, because she really is a tremendous forerunner, and she's still doing great things with women and opening doors to all sorts of people in the field of entertainment. But Marlo Thomas, early episode of That Girl from 1967, and as I watched it, and I was watching it for what I thought was one reason, turns out there was a whole other reason, and that was an episode really about sexual harassment. But it was in 1967 terms, which meant that there was a laugh track. And it meant that at the end, the outcome wasn't what you would have hoped it to be, but it was perhaps what was settled for. To watch the episode, you will definitely see this time capsule that I saw, the one that I thought was so important I needed to bring it to you. Those are some of the most important, deeply researched topics that I feel I have not yet encountered the right expert who could bring a different perspective to it. This past year, we went out on the road as well. We participated in podcast marathons. We sponsored a film festival, because when you're talking about representation, it's the experience of a woman or a girl seeing a woman or a girl on the screen, and what that means in terms of the inspiration and the affirmation and the confidence that it builds. So when the Athena Film Festival was held at Barnard College in New York in February, we were proud to sponsor it because media silos do nothing to advance the cause of understanding representation and supporting women in all endeavors to tell stories. Listeners, 80 episodes, 3 years, hours and hours of my time digging around finding the best stories of leadership, persistence, and achievement of TV women, because it's important, and it's important to me, and I love what I do. Can you do me a favor though, please? And that is, share these stories with someone in your life, someone who is not into podcasting yet. You've got someone in your life who probably is very interested in hearing more about TV women, whether it's women from the 60s, 70s, 80s, or Daria. They could pull up a screen and press play. And that screen can be found at YouTube, Radio Public, tvherstory.com, or anywhere where you find your podcasts. You can instruct them on how to just press play. So please subscribe at any of those places. Like us wherever you find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Stay in touch, please, and send your feedback, send your ideas. We're all in this together. It's all about TV women. This is why I podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Bemis Abrams.